On this week's Waste of the Week, billions of dollars have been spent the past 2 decades to arm federal agencies with more agents, guns, ammunition, and military-style equipment. And joining us this morning with the details, CEO and founder of OpenTheBooks.com, Adam Andrzejewski. Happy Friday, Adam. Your investigation found some alarming statistics when it comes to just the sheer number of federal agents we have right now and how much weaponry was purchased for some federal agencies like the IRS and Health and Human Services. So what were your top takeaways from what you found?
Well, after grabbing legal power, federal rank-and-file agencies are amassing firepower, and it's time to consider scaling back the federal arsenal. Jan, here's what we found at OpenTheBooks.com. We found in the latest audit that 103 federal agencies had purchased guns, ammunition, and military-style equipment. Now, what's interesting is that only 27 of those federal agencies are traditional law enforcement agencies. We found 76 traditional paper-pushing regulatory agencies. These are general administrative service agencies had purchased guns, ammunition, and military-style equipment. It is agencies at the federal level like the Environmental Protection Agency or Health and Human Services or the Internal Revenue Service like the IRS. As a matter of fact, the IRS since 2006 has purchased $35 million worth of guns, ammunition, and military-style equipment. They actually own 4,500 weapons, and that includes over 600 shotguns, 500 AR-15 style weapons, and even 15 submachine guns.
And it makes you go, why? Why? Over 200,000 federal officers have the authority right now to operate firearms. As you mentioned, that's more than in our own U.S. Marines, our own military. So how necessary is a firearm authority for some of those roles that you talked about?
Well, this needs to be a public debate, Jan. This firearm authority and these rank-and-file federal agencies was actually established all the way back in 1978. And I think Congress should hold hearings on this. We need a robust discussion as to why, for instance, Health and Human Services, who runs the soft social safety net, or the Social Security Administration, or transportation, or the USDA, the ag agency, why they need special agents. For example, does the Health and Human Services need 500 special agents trained by the same contractors that train our United States military special forces?
Right, and the National Institutes of Health has its own force larger than 95% of police departments across America. What were the stats with that?
Well, who knew? And the National Institutes of Health, they have their own police department. These are the folks funding, for instance, Big Pharma and accepting third-party royalties. Why do they need their own police department? Jan, we're blurring the lines between civil enforcement agencies or general administrative service agencies and traditional law enforcement agencies. The National Institutes of Health Police Department, they fall under Health and Human Services. Health and Human Services, for example, has an Office of Inspector General. They get to carry guns, arrest and firearm authority. So when Dr. Fauci, at the height of the pandemic, was receiving death threats, they received deputization from the U.S. Marshals, which would normally provide the security for Fauci, but the Office of Inspector General provides that security today. They were supposed to be the very folks holding Fauci accountable for his public policy decisions. They're actually protecting Dr. Fauci. So it's a great example of the blurring of the lines between the general administrative state and traditional law enforcement.
Also, another big issue here is that this comes with many reports that guns are lost. In fact, I read here that the Department of Homeland Security lost 228 guns, as well as over 1,800 badges and 25 secure immigration stamps in their most recent audit. So what kinds of controls are in place, Adam, for this to happen at this level?
Well, that comes from a congressional hearing in 2016 that was kicked off in our piece at the Wall Street Journal. Why does the IRS need guns? And Jan, what that hearing found is that the government's accounting controls on their gun lockers, those controls are weak, and it comes with real-world consequences. Of the 128 guns that were lost at Homeland Security, one was an Uzi, if you can believe that. And in 2015, there was a gun stolen from the Bureau of Land Management, an officer's car that was used in the shooting on the San Francisco pier of the beautiful Kate Steinle as she was murdered with that weapon.
Founder of OpenTheBooks.com, Adam Andrzejewski, we appreciate you joining us this morning.